Hello everybody, it is I, Killian, aka Kill the Frog, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this week's video, I am going to be reading one of my favorite childhood books and reacting to it as a teenager. So this book is one that I read over and over as a child, and it is Emily Winfield Martin's Oddfellows Orphanage. Another popular book by Emily Winfield Martin that I really did love as a child is Snow and Rose, except I only read that once when I was in like 5th grade. This one again I read over and over. Still looks like it's in very good shape, so the books that I have nowadays are not in good shape because I stuff them in my backpack and take them to school with me, but I digress. Let's get into this video. Okay, so let's talk about what I remember happening in this book. I remember that there's a girl, she's mute, and she has to write in a little notebook instead of doing ASL because maybe they don't have it in this world. But she comes to this Oddfellows orphanage, and she doesn't know what's happening or where she's from, I think. And I remember that this place is filled with strange kids. So there's an onion boy, and it looks like there's a hedgehog as well. I remember that this man right here is one of the caretakers, and I think there's someone named Hugo. Maybe that's a hedgehog, but I have no idea. Also, the lady in the background is also one of the caretakers, but I think the little girl's name is Dahlia? We will see. So not only is the cover art amazing, but there's also sketches throughout the book. I remember that there are pictures of the characters and like character profiles inside the book. Here is a map. I always love when books have these, although I never do end up referencing them. And let's start at chapter 1, a beginning of sorts. I love that the first word is Flibberty-Gibbert. So it took me about a minute to get through the first chapter. Before the second chapter, there is a character profile for the man with the blue beard, which is Oddfellow Bluebeard, as we found out. This is the house, and it has a lot of monsters and stuff. The little girl's name is Delia, or Delia. I think it's Delia. My dad, I remember, pronounced it differently. I remember this first beginning of sorts, this first chapter being a little bit boring just because it's not comedic in any way, but basically I was right. I think I had good judgment. Although you can tell that the writing style has been dulled down because this is a children's book, it's still beautiful. Also, the carriage is pulled by bears, which is something I totally forgot about, but how could I forget about that? Anyway, let's keep going with the book. So I just finished chapter 2 of the book, and it is a day of introduction, so obviously we got introduced to everyone, even the bears. The bears came in, and I realized their part was really rushed. I feel like a lot happened in this chapter, and again, it really rushed. So a lot of these children at the table, they look relatively normal, and then there's just the hedgehog and the onion boy. One girl just has a bird on her shoulder, one has a whole lot of badges, there are 2 identical twins, and there's a girl with a whole lot of tattoos, and then the bears come in and they start dancing. The Hugo that I mentioned was the hedgehog. So the third chapter is called A Day of Unusual Classes. So we'll see what classes they take, and we'll see what Professor Stella takes. Honestly, I'm sensing a theme with this book. The children, it's called Oddfellows Orphanage. You think it's going to be all about odd people, but it's not really about too many odd people. They just have like one trait that's odd, unless you have an onion for a head. That's a little weird. So I'm thinking the unusual classes are only going to have they're not going to be like wildly crazy. So in this third chapter, it was a day of unusual classes, and first they had fairy tale studies, which is kind of like English, I guess, and then they had studies about monsters, and they even admitted in the book that some of these monsters aren't even that monstrous, but okay. And they're going on an expedition, which is a field trip, so that's setting up a later chapter. And then they go to astrology with Professor Stella, who was one of the first people that Delia met. So there's no math, which I love. I hate math. And at the end of the chapter, one of the baby bear goes missing, and they go to search for the bear. I think that there should have been more time for Delia to get accustomed to the school, but who wants to read that when you could read them looking for a baby bear, which is way cuter? So I feel as if chapter 4 was sort of the end of the introduction, because now everyone's sort of accepting her and they're like, we're so glad you're here, which sounds like the end of the introduction. Basically, she found the bear. She was searching a whole lot with her friend Ava, but that all turned to be fruitless because the bear was in her closet the whole time, eating honey, and apparently the bear smells sweet. The bear barks, which is really cute. And these are, apparently she's one of the littlest kids there, which, how young is this child? She looks like an 8-year-old maybe. It's also, we've only met a select few of the characters, like 10 maybe, 8 probably. So I'm wondering, are there more students or is it just them? Now it's time to get into chapter 5, which is a monster expedition. So I just finished the chapter. Basically, they went on this expedition, and it's, again, really short. These chapters are super duper short, but I think I like the short chapters now. But before they go on an expedition, the cooks make pancakes and all, like, they're like in the shape of bunnies. And I want that. I want all the food in this book. Even the cheese sandwich that the onion dude throws overboard and the Loch Ness monster that they're searching for eats. Oh my goodness. The backstories of these characters are really dark. Like, the bears were, like, abused by a trainer until Hank found them. And Felix here, his parents were laid low by a poisoned cake that came as a gift from one of his father's business rivals. What? I wasn't expecting that. Chapter 6, A Very Curious Tradition. So that chapter was a bit more sentimental than I was expecting. It's haircut day at the school, and Felix chops off one of Delia's braids, like the whole thing. She has really long braids. And he says, I don't know why I did it. Haircut day is just so, I hate it because my mom used to cut my hair, and that was a lot more emotional than I was expecting. I thought this was going to be like Wayside School, nothing is taken seriously, but this is a good mix between the odd comedy, whimsy, and sentimental, like, emotional stuff. I'm gonna read the next couple chapters, and if something interesting happens, I will let you know. So ignore my sitting position. It is rather comfortable down here, surprisingly. But they just had the best picnic, hello Penny, in the whole entire world, and I want to make these foods. They had tea cakes. I just love picnics in general, okay? I am really curious about Delia's backstory just because they're hinting at it, but we're never getting any answers, so hopefully we'll get answers. I don't remember the end of this book, really. Oh my goodness, it is so cute! I thought it was a jackalope at first, but they say that it's a great horned rabbit and it's going to grow this big. I love this book so much, actually. So here is the age reference that I was looking for Delia, I guess. She looks a lot younger in this picture than she did in any other sketches of her, and now it kind of gives me a reference. I do thoroughly enjoy the way that they're introducing all these characters. Some of them that are just, like, always there. There's some of them that haven't gotten their time to shine yet. And then there are some that they have a little role in a chapter, and it helps you get to know them a little bit more, and I like that. So I'm on chapter 11 now, called A Star with a Tail. Super excited for that, but let's focus on Professor Stella for a second. It says that she was once an orphan at Oddfellows herself, and I am just wondering how long this orphanage has been around, because this is not like a family thing. Professor Oddfellow, as we learned in the story of how he founded the orphanage, he founded it himself after he got his father's inheritance and decided to use it for good. So I'm wondering how old he is, how old she is, because I thought they were around the same age and he was rather young but just looked aged with a beard. So I should add that the youngest professor, as stated in the book, is Professor Silas, so not Professor Stella. So Christmas is a good theme in this book. Like, they're really focusing on it. It's been in 2 chapters already, and usually they only spend like 1 chapter on stuff. I'm not mad at that. I'm just like, why? They are performing Snow White and Rose Red, which is sort of a reference to Emily Winfield Martin's other book, Snow and Rose, that I mentioned earlier. Oh my goodness, I'm finally getting a backstory for her! Finally, the main character. So, I finished the book. At the end, they find a baby, and the baby's name is Davy. Who names their child Davy? Okay, like, they should have just not written the name on the clothes at all if they were going to name their child Davy. Am I right or am I right? I think I'm right. I'm not going to try to be too harsh on this book because it was really, really fun to read, and I really liked all the food, and I will have to make some of this food. One gripe that I have is it's very European. Everyone's white. Everything is white. I liked all the art. I liked all the characters. I think it did a good job of portraying their dark backstories without being too dark. Yeah, I don't have too many criticisms. Great book. I had good taste as a child, or whoever gave this to me. Who gave this to me? Joe had great taste to give this to me as a child. So that was fun. I'll definitely be doing one of these videos again. Maybe that is the shortest childhood book I have, though. Please like, please subscribe, stick around to my next video every Wednesday, hopefully, unless I like die or something. No, you know what? I'm not gonna talk about that. Knock on wood. I'm not gonna die. Goodbye.